Hello, everyone. So today I'm going to be talking a little bit about the highly controversial and debated marijuana and sleep topic. So although, like I said, it's kind of highly controversial and debated, there are components of it that are actually so far pretty scientifically sound and not so controversial, meaning we kind of understand certain things about how marijuana affects sleep. And, although this can change over time, like many things in the scientific literature do, it's more than likely the case that these things are going to kind of hold up for the at least short term. So, a lot of heavy marijuana users will suggest that this always helps me sleep better. I fall asleep quicker. I feel more rested or whatever, right? So I have one study for you guys here, just kind of start us off. And so just kind of give you guys a background. I just completed my first year as a clinical psychology doctoral student, and I have a little bit of an interest in, I love sleep and I love substance use disorders and kind of just understanding them. So that's kind of just a little bit about me really quickly. But so for this first study we're going to be talking about here, it's called the Altman study. And this was a study published in 2019. Participants fell asleep 15 minutes faster, sleep about 2 hours longer, and they went to bed about 1.5 hours earlier. So from, to you might be thinking, well, that's amazing. Let me get some marijuana, right? Okay, don't use this video as a excuse to get marijuana. I'm just bringing you some of the facts from the studies, but this is what the study found, right? You fall asleep. Participants in this study don't, not everyone, but participants in this study on average fell asleep 15 minutes faster, slept for 2 hours longer, and went to bed for about 1.5 hours earlier. So this sounds really great from the outside, but it is missing something pretty important that, again, I think it kind of highlights the other end of the spectrum, which is a kind of more negative, has a little bit more of a negative impact on our sleep. And that is that research suggests that THC actually reduces the total amount of REM sleep, right? So we're talking about THC, we're talking about the psychoactive component of marijuana, we're not talking about CBD. So REM sleep is the part of your sleep that you can see right here. It's the part of your sleep that's actually closest to when you're awake, but this is also the part of sleep in which you have the most vivid dreams. And just like any other stage of sleep, it's very important that we have enough of these throughout the night, right? And it's also important that we have enough deep sleep. So the thing with REM sleep, there are some side effects if you do not get enough of it. Difficulty concentrating during the day, excessive daytime sleepiness, forgetfulness, or poor memory. This is just a Google search, so this might not be entirely accurate. There might be other things. I love verywellhealth.com. You can use this and kind of look at that as well. And so this is kind of variable, right? Like I looked at a study and it said that some participants had increases to their REM sleep, some had majority had decreases, and some had remained unchanged. And then research also suggests that deep sleep is increased, so it's kind of this backwards sort of effect. If you kind of think about it, it's like deep sleep is increased, but deep sleep is increased, but REM sleep is decreased. So it's kind of like the deeper parts of your sleep are increased, but the more kind of awake or the REM sleep are actually decreased. REM sleep, by the way, stands for rapid eye movement, and that's just kind of where you're basically kind of living out your dreams, whether you sort of remember them when you wake up or not. That's what's happening. Everyone has these stages of sleep, unless you have some kind of sleep disorder. Now, so you might be thinking, well, we get more deep sleep, but less REM sleep. Isn't this fine? Like, isn't deep sleep good? Yes, deep sleep is good. Deep sleep is very important as well. However, basically, the way that I kind of understand this is that any sort of disruption to the natural sleep cycle is not going to be great, right? So, whether this be from drugs like marijuana, alcohol does the same thing. If you drink it a few hours or right before bed, you're going to have a disruption to your sleep cycle. I'm not exactly sure how it disrupts the different stages. It might be similar to marijuana. It might not be. If you guys want a video on that, please let me know. But any disruption of the natural sleep cycle is more likely than not going to be bad for you. And again, I'm not here to say that marijuana is entirely bad. I know that people have medical marijuana and they praise it. It's very useful for people who have anxiety, terminal illnesses like cancer, right? But we can't ignore these side effects. There's two sides to every spectrum, and we need to kind of keep that in mind. Additionally, I really want to mention smoking versus edible use. So there are a few ways you can intake marijuana. Smoking, you can either smoke a blunt, you can smoke a vape or like wax, right? And this is generally more potent than a blunt. And then there's also edibles. And so generally I'm just going to be speaking between smoking and edibles because I think there is definitely a difference there. Edibles can last far longer. They can be far more intense, and they might actually impact your sleep over a longer period of time. Another aspect of this that we should consider is, is the individual a heavy cannabis user? Like, have they been using for years daily? Or do they just use like occasionally, right? Is it just like a once a month or once every other month or once a year kind of thing, right? Because if that's the case, it's more than likely not going to affect them as severely as someone who smokes daily or who uses edibles daily, which would almost certainly impact the cycles of your sleep. So, and again, this is highly variable. Certain people might be able to smoke daily, and if we were to look at their cycles of sleep, it might actually not impact their sleep very much. For some people, if they smoked once, it might completely destroy their cycle of sleep. So again, kind of just being very aware of these things and taking it into account before you actually go ahead and proceed with the use of them. So the next thing that I wanted to mention is you'll hear a lot of people who are chronic marijuana users, and you might be like this yourself if you clicked on the video. I'm very happy if you did click on the video. Thank you for watching. They might say things like, I can't fall asleep without marijuana. I had insomnia before I started using marijuana, and marijuana has helped me fall asleep. And, for these people, this might be very true, right? Although this might be the minority of individuals who actually use marijuana chronically, but it very well might be true for them. And, at the same time, it is important to consider, yes, you might be falling asleep quicker, but if you're not someone who struggles from insomnia, you're also likely changing the fundamental structure of your sleep cycles. So it's just something to kind of consider. Also, the thing about marijuana and quitting marijuana is, yes, using marijuana actually kind of has these effects of helping you fall asleep quicker, maybe even you go to bed earlier, maybe even sleep longer. The thing about withdrawal of marijuana is that it's known that the opposite effects occur. So this is the paradox of marijuana use and sleep, is that whenever you're actually stopping, you're going to likely run into some sleep issues. You might have some insomnia, more likely than not. Studies do suggest this, and your sleep is going to be pretty messed up if you're a chronic marijuana user, and this is just something else to consider. So I find that very fascinating that while the use of marijuana actually helps us fall asleep quicker, it might help us sleep longer, the withdrawal of marijuana actually does the exact opposite. So just something to keep in mind, right? And you have to remember that this withdrawal process is very temporary, although it's going to suck if you experience insomnia or sleep disturbances. This is a very temporary thing. It sort of, again, depends on how much have you been using, how long have you been using, what's the dosage, stuff like that. You need to consider those things. But remember that it's a very temporary process, and at the end of the day, you will get better. And if you do struggle, if you are someone who struggles from insomnia even before you use marijuana and you still have insomnia whenever you quit, it's definitely worth seeing a sleep specialist so that you can, actually fall asleep and get the quality sleep that you really need. So guys, if you enjoyed this video, if you want other sort of content like this or other clinical psychology content, just drop it down in the comments below. Let me know, leave me a thumbs up. Let me know if you liked this video or didn't like it, and I'll see you guys in the next one.